Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. In case you were interested in the playlist that I just had, that is from the 2023 NDI STEM Conference playlist. You can find that on Spotify. If you look up SACNAS, you'll see our logo there. Just so you know, in case you want to keep the tunes rolling sometime in October, our early registration for the NDI STEM Conference will be opening in May. All right. Well, thank you. Hello and welcome everyone who is joining us live and to those who are watching the recording. Today's webinar is utilizing ChatGPT for professional development with Elisabeth Johnson. I'm going to go ahead and hand that off to AJ so that she can introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dakyapi, Lakoya Tao Choko Tau Machiapi, na Eas Washichua, Alexander Holder Machiapi, Malakota na Kirgirish na Hochangda Waya Hamacha, na Hayuan Chate Washte Nape Chiuzapi. I just introduced myself in Lakota. I'm Mogol Lakota, Winnebago, Wichita, and Second Fox. It's nice to be here today. I will be moderating the chat for you all, so just drop me links whenever Elisabeth needs me to. And yeah, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much, AJ. So let me go back and go ahead and introduce myself. So yat she Elisabeth Johnson inishya adana en shinigi ki ani nish the dotsan on the bashishtin tortini dash che do hola dashnella akut ego edinastan nishle totat denasha and the hosdo eshuvan. So hello, everybody. My name is Elisabeth Johnson. I'm the Native Initiatives Coordinator 2 at SACNAS. I just introduced myself in Denepazad or Navajo, which included my clans. This is how we identify and connect as Denep people. I am of the Towering House clan, born for the Black Streak through Wood people. My maternal grandfather was Bitterwater, or is Bitterwater, and I'm from the Four Corners area, Farmington specifically, originally from Tisnaspas, Arizona, and I currently reside in Phoenix, Arizona, or I'd like to say the next stop in the SACNAS party, where we will be here for the NDI STEM conference, October 31st through November 2nd. So before we get started, we do want to acknowledge a little bit more about SACNAS. So SACNAS was established in 1973 and is celebrating its 51st year as a STEM organization dedicated to fostering the success of Chicano, Hispanic, and Native Americans, from college students to professionals, in attaining advanced degrees, careers, and positions of leadership in STEM. SACNAS is a fully inclusive organization committed to achieving true diversity in STEM. As the nation's largest multicultural and multidisciplinary STEM diversity organization, SACNAS creates space where all members, volunteers, and partners feel they belong and can embrace their intersectional identities. I know we are virtual, but as we gather in this virtual space, it is important to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples as the original stewards of the lands we now occupy. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend our gratitude to their descendants who continue to cherish and protect these lands. SACNAS is based out of California, where we acknowledge the vast and varied ancestral lands upon which we live, work, and gather. California is the original homelands to over 200 tribal nations, bands, and rancherias of Native American and Indigenous people. We acknowledge the histories, cultures, and contributions of Native Indigenous people and commit to learning from them and amplifying their voices. Right now in the chat, you'll see that there's a link to learn more about the tribal land that you are currently on. I, for one, because being in Phoenix, I'm currently on the ancestral homelands of the Akimel-Atham, Peeposh, and Maricopa people. All right, in today's webinar, we will discuss the significance of artificial intelligence in the modern workplace and its potential to enhance career strategies. We will be using ChatGPT throughout this webinar, so feel free to open another tab to follow along. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to the SACNAS YouTube channel for further viewing. All links will be sent out in a follow-up email a little bit later. So let's get started. I already introduced myself, but going a little bit more in depth, I'm Elisabeth Johnson. I'm an Indigenous professional dedicated to empowering our communities through education and advocacy. Currently, I serve that through being the Native Initiatives Coordinator at SACNAS and have been serving the SACNAS community for over a year. I do have a bachelor's degree in forensic science and a master's in the science of healthcare delivery. So I do have a lot of STEM background. But with that, I also have 5 years of experience in higher education preparedness, retention, and recruitment strategies. Additionally, experience in communications and marketing. Why that's the case is because I worked with college students, kids who are coming out, or individuals coming out of high school. A lot of that's going to be on social media. So I had to become well-versed in that. My journey began in higher education, where I worked to ensure Indigenous students not only entered college, but thrived throughout their academic journey. What I did was I provided personalized support from implementing retention initiatives. Through that was webinars such as this, professional development, ways, crafting your own resume and cover letter. And most importantly, which is something a lot of students experience, is, do I belong on campus? Well, the short answer is yes, but how do we make you feel on campus is the biggest question. Beyond academia, I have also dedicated myself to uplifting the urban Indigenous community through my work in nonprofits like SACNAS. I've spearheaded initiatives to promote cultural awareness, mentorship, and pathways for Indigenous youth to pursue education. That's a little bit about me, but let's get back into my experience as an Indigenous professional. With a background in higher education, community advocacy, all these different positions, which I will be showing you a little bit more about myself because we'll be doing a walkthrough once I get through all the slides. But how can I create a more inclusive space? How can I amplify the Indigenous perspective? How can I build a brighter future for generations to come? And how can I use ChatGPT in order to accomplish that? That's what we're going to be talking about a little bit more. If you have any questions throughout this entire webinar, feel free to use the Q&A chat, or you can go ahead and drop that in the webinar chat, and we'll try to grab those questions for you. All questions are great questions. If you don't know what AI stands for or ChatGPT, let me know. I'm happy to walk you through that. But just reminder, be polite, mindful, and respectful. I will be going through pros and cons as well as ethical usage of AI-generated content. So feel free to go ahead and also include your perspective. So how common is artificial intelligence? It's actually a lot more common than we think. I know around, 2020 is when people really started to see ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. This is when we started seeing memes of fake news, or art being generated from people that were not in places that they usually are. But we do have a lot of apps available, such as ChatGPT, Claude. These are more text-based artificial apps. But things that have existed already is Duolingo. I'm pretty sure all of us have seen that wonderful bird floating around all of the internet. They actually utilize artificial intelligence in order to develop lesson plans. And that's actually one of the biggest pros, is it's effective, it's efficient. However, it goes back into the cons, which I'll bring up a little bit later. Grammarly is also something that we are more familiar with whenever you're typing an email or you're going through Google Docs specifically, and you get that little ping from your Grammarly app, and it says, oh, this will actually sound so much better if you do this. But if you have used Grammarly, you kind of get the sense that sometimes their advice is best not taken. So that also goes into some cons that I'll bring up a little bit later. And lastly, if you are a college student or you are a professional that brings up presentations a lot, like myself, you're more familiar with PowerPoint. They actually utilize AI with the designer tab. So if you tried to put in an image in one of your slides and you generated a little pop-up on the side that says, hey, this slide looks great, this is how you make it better. That's actually AI right there. So we've already been exposed to some form of AI generated content or generators. I will say that algorithms are not necessarily AI, but they can be a little bit. But today we're mainly going to be focusing on text-based content. So the QR code right there is for ChaptGPT. We are going to be going through a quick run through of how to develop a resume, how to do some professional development prompts. At the end of the webinar, I will be providing everybody the list of prompts that I'll be using, and you can cater that to your specific needs. All right, the pros and cons of AI. So one of the biggest pros of AI is that it's accessible. If you have access to internet, you can type in ChatGPT. The fact that it's on PowerPoint and a variety of other websites, Canva, if you've utilized that, it's available and it's convenient because it's just about everywhere. Additionally, you can personalize your AI responses just by doing a little bit more tweaking in your specific profile. I won't go too much in depth on how to personalize responses from ChatGPT, but if you're interested, there's so much resources available. Another pro is the broad knowledge base. So if you type in something in ChatGPT, it has a vast knowledge base. It has been coded, it has been trained, so it has a lot of information to give out. Most of the time, you're going to run into some issues, which I'll talk about a little bit later on how to avoid them or how to overcome them. Next thing is AI is constantly learning. That's the biggest thing when it comes to artificial intelligence, is it's learning just like us. Everything that you're putting inside of ChatGPT is something that it's going to regurgitate a little bit later because you taught it something new. Next thing is your resume and cover letter. You're going to be learning a couple of things and prompts, tricks on developing your own resume and cover letter. I will say these are going to be more templates because I'll go a little bit more into the cons about why you don't want to use AI as your sole resource. And last thing is efficiency. It is going to be very efficient. It comes out really quick. You can get responses within minutes. If it's not the correct one in the beginning, you can always go back through and edit through to make sure you're getting the information that you wanted. Now the cons. In case you haven't heard, AI has branched out. It's no longer just the text responses. You can get videos, you can get music, you can get art. There's a lot of things there. But the issue is that it can be misrepresented, misinterpreted with all of that. And you can see that that is one of the biggest cons and controversies that are going around with artificial intelligence as of today. But going back to my slides, limited with in-depth knowledge. Now, how many of you have heard the "you don't know what you don't know"? That's what ChatGPT is. Now, if I were to put in, "give me a story written in Navajo," it doesn't know that unless it's been specifically coded. And because of that, it is already limited in that regard. There are teams of people who are putting in more information for ChatGPT. There are teams of people who are coding it, training it on knowledge. But even with a team of people, there are going to be some gaps in that knowledge. Additionally, since this is people who are utilizing and training it, there is a risk of biases with all the responses. So like I said, you don't want to use AI as your sole resource. You want to use this as supplemental. Additionally, dependency and over-reliance. I already kind of brought this up. Because it is with a team of people, it is heavily reliant on those teams of people to teach them or teach AI. And also, it's really dependent on internet. So if you live in a rural area or you just don't have access to internet, you're going to need that. The last three things really tie in with one another. Privacy and security reason. Like all things on the internet, don't put your phone number, your address, any private information through ChatGPT. Like I said, it is learning everything that you're putting in. And the last thing we want is for there to be a breach or it accidentally regurgitating. Lack of human interaction, potential for misinterpretation really goes into the top three. of the cons with AI is just because if you're wanting somebody to more show you, be more visual with you about your resume or your cover letter, you're not going to get that. It is a text-based response with ChatGPT and Claude. And they're not going to be able to give you more of that human touch, like personal experiences. For example, if you wanted to learn about how can I feel more at home on campus and you ask ChatGPT, it is going to give you some general responses versus if you were to ask one of your support specialists on campus, how can I be more at home? The support specialist is going to be able to tell you a little bit more, give you some support groups, student organizations, more of that personalized feedback because they already have that lived experience. And then misinterpretation, because ChatGPT is still learning, if you put in a prompt, it's not going to understand it if you don't provide it more details. So ChatGPT, although can give you great responses within minutes, sometimes it takes a little while to curate those responses. So as we're going into this webinar, keep that in mind, all these pros and all these cons. So career planning. What is it? If you are somebody who is going into college or you're already in college, we all have this mindset of, oh, you find a career, you get into college and choose your major, get good grades, graduate, get a job, be promoted. I wish it was like that, but unfortunately it is not. This is going to be more of what it is. Career planning is doing more of that self-assessment. What do I want to do? What am I good at? Where are my challenges? What options do I have, which is going to be that explore options? What are positions that I can go into? What are potential majors that I should have? And then you're going to be crafting your plan. What do I need to do? If I want to go into the lab, but one of the biggest things is I'm not good at following procedures, then that's when we want to craft a plan on how you can develop that skill. After that, you're going to take action. So every plan that you make, you should have an action that follows it. Obviously, between craft a plan and take action is going to be make the decision, choosing whether or not you're going to follow the plan, as well as are there any additional things that you need to do to go into it. And it becomes more of a cycle. After you've already accomplished everything that you've done, you've gotten promoted, what's next? What are you doing good at? Where do you need to improve? And it's an endless cycle, but honestly, it's a great cycle. How can ChatGPT fit in all of these spaces? Well, it can provide insights to current trends. So you can ask ChatGPT, let's say, for example, I am a forensic scientist and I'm in the lab. What are the current trends in the forensic industry to move from research scientist to lab manager? That's a great prompt that you can put in, and it can tell you some skills that you should develop on. You could include some more information about yourself, like I have done this, I have done that. What else do I need to do? And it can give you a little bit more of a personalized response. Next is identifying skills and development opportunities. If you are new and early in career and you want to find that position, but you don't have the work experience, but you want to showcase that you have the skills, or if you're already in late or mid to late career and you just want to develop a little bit more, you can actually put into the prompt of ChatGPT, how can I improve? What are some skills and development opportunities I can take in order to move to the next level? Just make sure to insert what level you want to go into. So if you are a manager, but you want to move up to director, or if you're a director that wants to move up into a CEO or higher president, maybe, you're going to want to make sure that you are putting that exact position. And then also exploring alternative options. If everything, you have your plan, but you also want to come up with some backups, this is also a great way to just generate ideas. And that's what I really want to emphasize when utilizing ChatGPT. As I keep, and I will continue to say this is not a sole resource. This is not a one-size-fits-all. You're going to want to use this as supplemental material to generate ideas. At the end of this webinar, you're going to be absolutely tired of me saying that. So that was career development. Now it's professional development. One of the biggest questions that I've received from students is, why do I need to keep learning? I already got my degree. Do I need to get a higher degree? Yes and no. It depends on what positions you're wanting. It depends on what your pathway is going to be. But you want to change your leadership style. And that includes changing your mindset of fixed versus a growth mindset. Fixed means that you're comfortable in where you are succeeding in where that position is. You don't want to learn anything just because you're scared of failing. That fear ends up keeping you in that same exact spot. Whereas a growth mindset is saying, I'm going to learn this, and if I fail at it, it just means that I need to learn from it. And that's where that growth mindset comes in. I, for one, can tell you, when I first got introduced to ChatGPT, my first question is, what are you? And asking very basic questions and prompts, and then slowly started to develop more ideas as to what to ask it. I really enjoy telling people this story about my undergrad experience, which is I was never really good at biology. So I actually did not pass my first time doing biology. And with that, I kind of went down into a big slump, but then I remembered I'm learning it. And so from that, I told myself, all I want is to get is at least a B in the next one. So ensuring that you set the goals that are more realistic to you so that when you accomplish them, you can work your way back up. So the second time I took it, I did get a B. And then when I took the second level of biology, I was able to get an A. So it was slowly moving my way up. So changing your mindset from a fixed to a growth mindset. We are not experts in everything, but we can be competent or at least experienced in multiple. Now, ChatGPT can help in crafting your professional development program or pathway or idea or whatever you want to call it by giving you personalized learning resources. I'm going to give you some prompts from both a student standpoint that has no experience to a professional who has 5 years experience. It's going to be my resume. I'll give you that. How can I improve? How can I promote myself? As well as insights on industry best practices and trends. So what is out there? What are they currently doing? And why am I not doing that? And lastly is advice on networking and building your brand. So your brand is mainly going to be focusing on how to improve your social media presence, whether that's looking at your elevator speech. If you are doing research and you've applied for presenting at the NDI STEM conference, which, by the way, those applications will be opening up a little bit later this year, you want to go through and see, how can I build this? How can I improve my current slides deck? Or how can I improve my abstract? There's a lot of things out there in order to develop professionally. And then resumes and cover letters. Why do you need them? I get this I ask myself actually this conversation a lot. Why should I have a resume and cover letter? It helps with internship and job applications, scholarships, a lot of times ask for that, graduate school applications, networking opportunities. There's a lot of reasons why having a resume and cover letter are important. I know cover letters are becoming a little more not in trend, but it's still very important to have and know how to write that. ChatGPT can assist by generating templates and formats, tailoring for specific applications, and crafting compelling cover letters. As I said this before, it does lack the human interaction. So just because you put in the templates, your prompt looks amazing, the format, the template looks fantastic, you still want to go through and make sure, is AI accidentally making up content? Because it does do that. So you want to make sure it's not creating something new that you haven't done before, just to make sure that that's not something you experience. We're going to come back to this slide where I can actually talk a little bit more about effectively using ChatGPT. So we are going to go here. OpenAI, I'm going to drop this in the chat, If you have any questions for me thus far about the slides, feel free to start dropping things in. So this is where you're going to see ChatGPT. This is going to be the main page. You can create an account. It is free. You also don't have to create an account either. Having the account means that you can have archived conversations. There are two versions of ChatGPT. GPT 3.5 is the free version. ChatGPT 4 is going to be the not free version. This one does have a lot more information that it can give you because it is connected to the internet. ChatGPT 3.5 is going to have a lot more outdated information. If it's within the past couple months, it's not going to be fully updated. So you're going to be working with some previous trends. But personally, I've used the 3.5. Bing also has ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT 4. You can utilize that as well. Claude is also another one, but during this presentation, we're going to use OpenAI. Now, whenever we're going through this, we want to ensure that we're giving some good prompts. Now, let's do some career planning first. We're going to go through here. This is going to be the SACNAS Career Center website. This is where you're going to find some awesome information when it comes to current jobs. If you are looking for a position right now, this is definitely the place to go. It's open to members. If you're interested, you can look up sacnas.org. So let's find a position here that we can try to craft a resume for. Let's see. Do I want to be a microbiologist? I did say that I'm not good at biology, so probably not the best one. You know what? We'll just stick with this research geneticist. So we're going to grab this job description right here, put this in, and we're going to let ChatGPT know you are an expert at a recruitment. I can't spell. So I'm going to actually grab this right here. I already pre-did it. We're going to go back, excuse me, through here. And we're just going to drop in the entire job description. You don't have to really format this unless there's any dramatic spaces. Okay. Now, I asked this to give me the top 3 important responsibilities. So what does a research geneticist at Dairy Forage Research Unit at the U.S. Dairy Forage Research Center need? So the top 3 responsibilities are going to be to develop, improve cultivars, identify breeding methods, identify and evaluate selection criteria. So those are going to be the top 3. Are there things that I've done in my resume that reflect this? I can tell you this right now, other than me being in the lab, probably not. So this is going to be my resume. I'm going to bring this in, and I'm also going to start asking it questions such as, based on this, let's go back here. So the question is, based on these, or the prompt, based on these most important responsibilities from the job description, tailor my resume for this position. We're going to grab my resume. As you can see, I might not have anything. So as you see, it's already starting to generate a format, a template. It's giving you an objective sentence, which usually happens at the very top. I, for one, do not have experience in dairy, so it's probably more important that I have that objective statement up there. There you go. Now let's see how it changed most of my information. So this looks about the same, hasn't changed. This also hasn't changed. This hasn't changed. All right, so it didn't change most of my resume. I didn't anticipate it to because, like I said, I don't have much experience. But so this is the main one that's been altered or added. So detail-oriented and results-driven professional, and inserts my master's and bachelor's, proven track record of success in coordinating initiatives, community engagement, marketing strategies. I'm currently seeking a position where I can leverage my skills in program coordination, community outreach, strategic planning. Okay, awesome. This is actually a really good example as to why you don't want to just take your template and immediately send that off for your application. This is because I don't think this has anything to do with the job. Developing, leading the research efforts, probably more my program management certificate will be a little more beneficial, but going through and checking off, are these really made for me? But now that I know that these top 3 are huge, maybe I can go back and think about the classes that I took in my undergrad that's more relevant. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull together my old resume from when I was in undergrad. Now, the best part about this is if you have this and it's not coming out the way you want it to, like our example right now, you can always go down to the bottom and edit. So in this case, I'm going to take out all of this, and we're going to pretend that I am back as an undergrad student. This only includes my bachelor's degree, the college, my relevant courses. So if you are an undergrad student that doesn't have a lot of experience, put down your relevant courses that pertain to the job. My personal experience, I'd probably add one more. I used to be a tutor, so that would probably be one of those things to add. All right, there it goes again. Let's see. Detail and research-driven professional with a Bachelor of Science from Arizona, eager to leverage my scientific background, analytical skills, and attention to detail in this role at this place. That's great. That objective statement looks absolutely better than what we had before. It doesn't look like it changed much, but it does give you some more information at the very bottom. So when you're tailoring your resume to that position, you want to focus on your relevant coursework, analytical skills, and attention to detail. I do have experience in event planning, social media promotion, administrative duties. That would be a little bit more effective and influential when it comes to working in teams in a research environment. I would probably want to ask it a little bit more. How can I really emphasize? Let's ask that. How can I emphasize analytical skills from my resume? There you go. And it's already giving you some ideas on how to analyze or emphasize your analyzation skills. So if you've noticed that I just need a little bit of an extra push, a motivation, this is where you can actually get it. So action verbs, quality achievements, can I go back and think of when I actually applied my analytical skills? Those will probably be more pertinent to when I did lab work as an undergrad and adding that into my resume. More coursework, like I said, and there you go. So we already have a little bit of an idea, a jumping off point when it comes to crafting my resume. Now let's start a new conversation and let's ask it, what are the current trends when it comes to the healthcare industry? So like I said, I do have a bachelor or a master's in healthcare. So I want to know, what are the current trends? Well, right now, it's already giving me information from their last update in January 2022. So like I said, this is going to be working with a little bit more older information. But there you go. We have some information. Is there something that I've done before? Or is there something that I can get more into? Look at that. AI and data analytics. I'm already following one of these trends. So what can I do in order to be more effective? So they're being utilized to improve healthcare outcomes. early disease detection. So that's great. What can I do with this? How can I become more involved with, we'll just take this entire sentence. Again, these are just ideas to get involved in. So education, going back, maybe getting a degree, brushing up on some more skills, skill development. As you can see, it's generating a lot of information right here. Maybe I don't want this all. Maybe it's just too much words. I'm not going to read it all. So give the top 5 in bullet format and in order of importance. Top 5 ways. First one, education, skill development, healthcare domain knowledge, networking, collaboration, hands-on projects, continued learning and adaptation. Great. Maybe we can ask some more questions on for improving. There you go. And as you can see, we already have a whole conversation going. They're already giving you some, or giving me some information like Coursera, EDX, Udacity, MIT. So there's a lot of information already coming in. I could go ahead and look more into them. Maybe if I'm a student, I can follow up with a support specialist, one of the counselors, just to talk a little bit more about this information. So like I said, just a great jumping off point. Now, does anyone have any questions? I'm just keeping an eye on the chat right now, but feel free to drop any questions in here. Now, to take a quick break from watching me type everything, let's look and see what other ways does AI influence what I do. So this is my LinkedIn page. It's a lot of information here that I put in, but did you know you can actually make a resume with your LinkedIn? Right here, you're going to go to save as a PDF. I already did this earlier. So this is what it's going to generate. Again, this is a generator. You're not going to want to use this immediately, and I can give you the number one reason why, and it's my summary is too long. So looking at this now, this is just overall my reasons for doing what I do and why I do it. But it's too lengthy. My resume is now 2 pages long. The template, I'm not too sure if this will go very well in the automatic tracker. So whenever you're applying for a job, I know Target is really notorious for this. When you apply for a job, they actually have a computer software analyze everything on your resume. Issue with templates, though, is if it's a text box that's on top of the page, that's all that computer is going to see. So if I were to upload this, there is a higher chance that they're just going to get a blank piece of paper because all of this is floating on top of the page. So I'm going to want to change this, obviously, and this is could be an AI generated resume. So we definitely want to go through here. My top skills, those are not my top skills. My certifications, those are not my updated certifications. So I need to go through either relook at my LinkedIn or even just going back and just saying, I'm going to scrap this whole thing. Here you go, more information. Oh, wow, it's 3 pages. So we're definitely going to want to look at this. There are various ways you can use AI. This is definitely one of them. There are limitations in this just because you will have to go back and redo it. Another one is utilizing a portfolio. If you are familiar with Notion, Notion also has AI built into it. So I gave it my information and it developed an online portfolio for me. I did have to go back and tweak it. So right here, I had to go and fix a lot of information, such as my signature at the very top, my skills, and there's just more information that it wanted from me. So example projects, artifacts that I created in previous jobs, my professional experience, so much that my portfolio encompasses. Issue though is it's 10 pages long. So it's going to be more beneficial for me to just use a general template. This is one that I actually grabbed from ChatGPT in order to improve my resume. And we're going to walk through this. This will probably be more relevant to my early mid-career professionals. When I was creating this resume here, I actually didn't have any of these statements from my current positions. So I actually went through and asked it some questions. So let's go back and see what exactly I asked. I don't organize my information, so excuse me. So going through, you're gonna wanna put in your resume first, but you also wanna ask it some pretty good templates that I highly recommend is subject, task, instructions, context. So the subject is I want it to be a resume for my current position, the position I am now. The task, write a resume entry, and then you're going to want to go with the instructions. The more detailed your instructions are, the more detail you're going to get. So if you remember when we were learning how to barely do procedures and they told you make a sandwich using only words, and then have somebody else act them out. If you remember that communication strategy or lesson, that's definitely something you're going to want to apply here. And then also your job description. So this is actually my job description for right now that I pulled, and I just wanted to see how can I create a resume for my position if I were to apply and I didn't have it. So right here, obviously I already have it, but just talking about, these are the top 4 bullet points that are relevant to my position right now. So it already grabs some information from my job description that are more relevant to what I do. Again, the subject, task, instructions, context. This will be sent out in an email so that y'all have the prompts for this, as well as additional prompts so that you can kind of play around with it. I want to create a cover letter. The letter should be between 300 to 500 words, which is about a page, giving it a little bit more of a tone, professional, enthusiastic, as well as 2 examples of relevant experience and skills. And then giving it a little bit more context. So with ChatGPT, there are a variety of things that you can do. And we'll go back to those tips right now because we are getting close to time. Okay, so when we're using ChatGPT, we want it to be effective because it is an effective resource. So we want to write clear and concise prompts. We want to verify information from multiple sources. Like I said, we don't want to use this as its sole thing. We want to use it as supplemental, as well as refining and updating our career plan. So after you've already done this and you've learned a new skill, go back and see, is there a way that I can expand on this? Are there things that I can do? Additionally, know that there are various ways that you can use ChatGPT. It can be a Q&A. You can ask it just basic questions. Like I said, what are insights into the current trends in healthcare industry? That was a Q&A. Instructional, I'm telling it what to do and what I want from it. Another thing that I find really interesting is the role-playing aspect. So we're going to go back through here and we're going to go up. Actually, no, we'll go back here. We're going to say, pretend you are a hiring manager. Oh. Does anyone know how to spell hiring? Manager for the research geneticist position. Hiring manager in an interview for the research geneticist position. I already put that in. Great. It's already going to start asking me questions. Now it's time for me to take my interview and we can go back and forth. So the first question is, Tell me about your educational background and how it has prepared you for a research-focused position like this. That's great. I can already start getting ideas for my interview. So interview prep is already there. If you are a mid to late career, you can also ask questions on how can I, as a hiring manager, ask effective questions for somebody to come onto my team. That's also another prompt that you can put in to help with your hiring process in case you're interviewing anybody to join your research team. Those are some important conversations that you can have. We are at 12:45 now. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna take a quick drink of my water. I also talk very fast, so I apologize. Perfect. If you are going into ChatGPT right now and you say, I just watched a presentation about ChatGPT, what are some questions I can ask? That also works too. AJ has already put in the link for our survey. Please take the time to fill out this survey. Let's go ahead and come up here. It'll take you about 3 minutes. It's a 6-question survey just to talk about whether this topic is relevant, how it has impacted you, and then also if you have any suggestions for future webinars or topics. I know this is more relevant to our undergrads, early career professionals, but if you have any questions for information for mid to late, I'm happy to open up that conversation. We do have a question. How do you recommend using ChatGPT to translate your CV to a resume? This is definitely something you're going to want to go back to the pros and cons. The pros and cons when it comes to ChatGPT is if there are words in a specific language that are not going to translate very well, you're definitely going to want to have someone else look at it. You can go through. I don't have a resume put in a different language, but absolutely, we can open up that conversation too. I don't recommend using ChatGPT to translate your CV. Your CV to a resume. I have not done that. Maybe our next conversation will be trying to put those two together. But we can, especially if you're using the prompt of create a like this. If you use a prompt like, if you use a prompt like, how can I customize my resume? Or even going back to that subject, task, content, you can actually put in translate CV to resume, and then give it a bit more of a context as to what you want it to do. And then just pasting your CV. Hopefully it can turn into a resume, going back and reformatting it, fixing any grammatical errors. But I can definitely create a prompt, put that in our email to send to everybody to see if it helps you. But thank you for your question. I read that way too fast. I thought you wanted to translate that. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us. For everyone who joined us live and those on the recording. If you want to continue this conversation, join us as a SACNAS member. You can sign in or sign up at sacnas.org/memberships. You can add me to your circle through YM in the community. Please remember to take the survey at the end of this webinar. It really helps us with understanding what your needs are, how we can best address them. And as always, you can support SACNAS and diversity in STEM by taking action, visiting us on sacnas.org, attending our webinars, applying for our programs, following us on social media, and also donations are also very helpful because that will help us with bringing in more people to SACNAS and also bringing people to the conference. Thank you all so much for attending. Can't wait to talk to you all again. Bye.